All right, so I think we're ready to go. My name's Josh Christian Young. I'll explain. I've coached a lot of positions. I was the outside linebacker coach here last year. I moved back to defensive backs. I'll show you that here in a second. But real quick, really excited to do this. Second year I've done this. Obviously, worked at Army for 5 years with John. Know Lauren very well. You know, there were tons of days where, as a coach, you just feel bad, and you walk in the room and Lauren's just sitting there being a tough human being. So excited to do this, excited to help out John. And I hope you guys get something out of this today. We're talking about some outside linebacker play, some drills. I'm going to talk about some endo. I'm going to talk about some technique and a little bit of some stunts with that if we get time, which I think we should. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to roll. Maybe. All right, you got me?
Perfect, coach.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're talking about outside linebacker play. Again, I coached the outside linebackers last year, but just real quick, so I coached the outside linebackers here at Tulane last year, but most of my career, I've been a defensive back coach. And when I took this job, and I moved to outside linebackers, I quickly kind of realized with how we do it in our defense, it's a lot like coaching safeties. And I'm going to talk more about that here in a minute. But the techniques, the stuff we do, it was very complicated. I was lucky to be able to clinic with some good coaches. And so when I looked at individual with this, these were the 6 things that I knew with at least within a 2-day period that I wanted to hit, right? I wanted to start with stance and start. Our outside linebackers playing a 2-point stance. Our field in which I coach, he mostly played in a 3-point stance. I'm going to hit the sled. That's just a very generic 6-man 3-point. I'm going to focus mainly on the 1-man sled that we have and we hit, but this is mostly just D-line drills. I was going to hit some type of agility drill. Most of the time, that was a bag drill, just inside linebacker, 1 foot in the hole, 2 foot in the holes, speed ladder work, because our guys needed that. I was going to hit some type of run technique. Whatever the run emphasis was that week, the favorite run versus how we're going to play it. I was going to hit a pass technique. We dropped in coverage a good bit last year, so we were going to hit some type of pass scheme that we had to do. And also, I would count that as pass rush within that. And then I was definitely going to hit whatever the scheme that we needed to do versus the runs of the week that our opposing opponents had in. So for us, real quick, we had 17 sacks. I wish we would have had more. We were very productive with TFLs. Darius Hodges was one of the top guys in the nation, first in our conference with TFLs at 16 and a half, really productive player for us. But the reason why we had to do a lot of different stuff is, we had 918 pass snaps against us last year, and we dropped 100 times of that. So, various ways we dropped. If you look at our defense, we were strong hook droppers, weak hook droppers, curl flat, man-to-man. We did a bunch of different shiggity. So the endo, going back, like we had to kind of go quick. We had to be organized because these were the 6 things we were trying to hit because of all the stuff that we had to do. All right. But I was going to give these guys a playbook. Now, I know I'm going a little quick. I did this mostly in PowerPoint. So it was a PowerPoint presentation I put together. So I would always install a technique first. So like I changed the names of most of these just for, I guess, security purposes, because you never know who's going to be on these. But if we were going to put in a front, all this you can see as hyperlinked. Obviously in Exos, I can't click it and take you to it, but the kids could pull this up. They could click bear and it's going to show them a picture of bear front, right? We would put in, our airborne or our dive technique, any of this stuff that we put in, the kids can click this and it pulls up a description. I'm going to show you the descriptions here in a second. But I thought it was easy for them. It took me a little bit of time, but now every time the kids had a question like, hey coach, what's dot front again? Pull up your playbook. Boom, they pull it up, they click it, it's hyperlinked right to it. They can click back out. Hey coach, what are our curl flat technique rules again? Boom, they click it, it takes them right back to the curl flat technique rules. And it's something we put together. We had it at Army. We carried over to here. I think it was very productive for us, right? So a couple things I'm going to talk about the first thing I'm going to start talking about is primary gap defense. So most of the time, our kids are going to be on our stand-up end are going to be a C gap or a D gap defender on the run. So here, I got this from Bobby April at Wisconsin. This is our one-man sled. Carlos Hatcher from Dallas, Texas. He's our stand-up boundary end right now. So most of the time, we're going to be in a 2-point stance with this guy. We like our inside foot up. We like our outside foot back. I will let them get in a switch stance on pass rush, but that's another clinic. All right, so here what we're saying is this is the tackle. All right, it's a little unrealistic at times, but we're saying, he's head up right now, which most of the time will be at an angle. So he's a 5 technique. The C gap where I'm standing at right now is the outside gap. So I would give him a verbal cadence for the most part on this.
Set hit.
Let me say set hit. I want to see Carlos power step 6 inches right here, mostly at the guy if he can. He's going to get his hand placement and strike. Boom. Now, this position is a tad bit unrealistic, but it's you can step and work this. So yes, this is the tackle. Carlos gets in this power position. His C gap is really over here, and I'll show you a drill here, right? So I give him a set. This is what I want to stop. Here's the other way. So same thing. Hit. Boom. He power steps, knocks back. He's got his vision and his day one. Now we would work right on our buddies. So this is us in what we call football school right here. We've got Carlos, the same technique. We're working this in the summer. Angelo Anderson from New Orleans, John Curtis guy, right? He's going to step like he's zone blocking at Carlos. He should take his 6-inch power step, place his hands, boom. And now he's in that same position he was on the sled, right? This is his C gap. Now, most of the time we started getting hinge block like what we're working here. I'll explain that more here in a second, but Carlos is going to work, step his hand placement, keep his eyes in his gap right here. So now I started doing it this way a little bit more, and I wish I would have kept doing it. This is a little bit towards the end of the year. All right, I'm standing back here. This guy went early, but I'm telling them how to block it. I'm pointing, telling them to zone which way. So now I've already given them the verbal cadence. Verbal cadence reps should be perfect reps. Right now, these reps are reactionary drills. So now I've got 2 groups here. I'm telling them, you can see I pointed which way I want them to zone block, how I want them to work it. And now Carlos gets set. I point. When I point, now Torrey Singletary, he's going to zone step at Carlos. So now we've worked a perfect drill off of verbal cadence. And now a reaction drill, boom, we're stepping. Carlos doesn't know when he goes. I'll give them zone blocks. I'll give them down blocks. We'll get pass sets. We'll get all types of stuff out of this without them getting used to my verbal rhythmic cadence of, set, hit, or ready, 8, set, hit, whatever you want to do, right? So Carlos steps, boom. He controls his gap. His eyes are in his gap. He is a C gap defender in this position. Here's Angelo Anderson working the same drill, right? So here I'm standing over on this side, doing the same thing we just did, right? Angelo takes his 6-inch power step. Darius Hodges zones or hinges at him. Boom. Now, you got to watch, obviously, getting your hands up in the face here, but you can see it's a good step. Boom. Power, strike. We're knocking his butt back. All right, so we've worked zone blocks with it. Now here, Andrew Wilkes is going to work it versus a stretch block. The big thing we talked about was stretch. If we're a C-gap defender, hey, man, you're never reached until a ball declares, right? So if this guy really works on a wide stretch step, boom, I'm going to knock his ass back and put him in this gap and make this thing cut back inside of me. We started getting a lot of stretch towards the end of the year, but here's Wilksy. You might false step a little bit, but don't panic. Knock his butt back, and even if you play through it, this thing should cut back as long as I get good knockback on my guy here, right? So we would work at single. This is just a wider shot of us doing it. Here's us practicing at Legion Field in Birmingham because of global warming and hurricanes. We had to evacuate, and we played a game actually at Legion Field. Here we are practicing. So we're working the same thing, verbal cadence reps, set, hit, boom, having our guys step, hit, just getting 3 dudes, working the rep at the same time, right? Here we are again. This is us working it. I got a bunch of clips of this, right? No, don't lean. You can see right here, he's guessing. He's a freshman. He thinks I'm on a verbal cadence. No, we're not. We're a reaction drill here, right? So boom, you can see he leans, gets off balance. You can see Angelo does a great job here of power stepping, bang, boom, knocking his butt back, controlling his C gap right there. All right, again, Legion Field, just other ways we work it. We've got a bunch of angles to this. Just wanted to show it, but here we go. All right, now we're working on the sled. So here, this is our field end, all right? The field end was a little bit different for us. We played him in a 3-point stance. So JoJo's still playing a 5 technique here, right? He's stepping just like he would, and he doesn't have to turn. He's square on it. So his C gap is right here, is on this side. So I'm standing over here. You can see he's working it, bang, hitting it, power step, coming off the sled, and then we'll crawl, walk, run it. So you've seen us crawl, walk. Now we're gonna run to it, and we're gonna use a rugby ring off of it. So Angelo steps, he's got his power step. I'm rolling this rugby ring out here. You can see him roll, boom, tackling that pad level. Tackling's a whole nother deal, whole nother clinic, but we're a rugby style tackle team. You can see Angelo popping his chest, doing a good job. So now crawl, walk, here we go. Now we're running. All right, so here we are against Tulsa. We're watching 41 here. Darius Hodges, I'll go to the end zone here in a second, but he's got this YY wing. Doesn't do a great job of power stepping, but he's holding his gap. You can see he sheds off the block. Boom, he gets involved in the primary gap, 16 and a half TFLs. Here's one of them, right? So he's YY wing. Again, we're keying this tip of this Y right here. You can see Darius knocks it back. He's getting good knockback right here. Does a great job shedding the block, getting involved, cutting the play off, and getting a TFL or a half with TFL there. All right, so now we'll talk about secondary gap. So our primary gap is C or D gap, right? And now the ball's declared inside of me of the B gap or the C gap if I'm a D gap defender here. So again, we'll use this one-man sled. Here's Carlos Hatcher. So now, boom, right? This is his C gap. The ball declares, so I'm verbal cadence here. Set, hit, C gap, boom, secondary gap. He's working, shedding the block, working to fill into his secondary gap here. Darius Hodges working it, boom, power stepping. I'll be the running back a little bit. Sometimes it's unrealistic, right? Boom, but he sheds it, comes right off the block. So what we did is we crawl, walk, run it. You can see us again here. I'm the running back, quick as a cat, Division II football player. These guys don't want this smoke, great footwork. Look at me. I just look quick as crap right there, right? But as we get into the power position, so now, boom, I'm in my C gap. Here's the running back. He presses. He bounces back into the inside gap. We're just shedding the block, working. All right. You can see again, just a bunch of clips of it. Power stepping, boom. It's all about the look too, right? This is a freshman for us. You got to really teach these guys how to zone block. This isn't good enough. This is just turning, boom, right? We started getting hinge blocked a lot instead of zone block, but that's not good enough here. We, coaching this guy up too. But you can see Angelo does a great job of hinge blocking, shedding, ripping, disengaging, falling right back in to make the play, right? Now crawl, walk, run. Here we are running. Keith Cooper, power stepping, C gap. The ball declares, right? In his secondary gap, he's rolling off, working, tackling again, rugby style tackle. Does a great job of getting his right foot, right shoulder on the ground, making the play here. All right. This is a drill we call 2-spot. All right. It's basically just half line run. We do inside, we do 2-spot. But this is a good clip here. We got 15 angles of this, right? Again, we talk to our kids about back sets and stuff too. All right. We got a 1, a 2, a 3-man surface, and it's pistol. A lot of times in run schemes, that's stretch or play action. So against our offense last year was a big stretch formation. You can see Angelo does a great job of stepping, getting good knockback, holds his primary gap is this D gap right here. All right, the ball declares inside, he sheds the block, gets involved. Different angles of it, but one angle I really like, if you guys can film it, here we are practicing at the New Orleans Saints facility, right? The Superdome or the Caesars Dome now, right? But you can see here, I love this sideline camera, all right? So we film this as much as we can because 1, you can see if we're offsides, and 2, you can see how much knockback we get, right? So here, Angelo power steps, bang, right? You can see the line of scrimmages right here, all right? Angelo knocks his butt back about 1.5 yards. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're coaching. Knockback, bang. Good knockback right here. You can see the ball declares primary. He keeps his eyes in his primary gap. It declares into his secondary gap. He folds in. All right, cool. Coach, it works in practice. Does it work in games? Yes, sir, it does. All right, so here we are. This is Angelo Anderson, number 3 again, right here. Pistol, big time stretch, right? Here comes the stretch. Angelo does a good job of getting knocked back, gets his shoulders turned just a little bit, but does a great job owning his primary gap. Again, on stretch, you never reach until the ball declares, gets knocked back, folds back in, gets involved in the play. See it from the end zone. He might be a little wide. Really want to play a 5 technique. If it's a 2-man surface, but 3-man surface, you really want to be a 9. We were kind of cheating based off of game plan because these guys are such a heavy stretch team, right? But Angelo does a good job knocking it back. He gets a little washed, but we're doing a good job. Boom, secondary, disengage, gets involved in the play. All right, so I know I'm going quick here, but I got a lot of stuff I want to hit. All right, so our dive technique. We don't call it dive, but I changed the name of it. All right, so when we run this is a technique we want to run when we want the quarterback to pull the football. So this is the playbook I give the guys. So that first screen you saw, they click dive, right? Boom, we're coming to here. So we talk about fast to, no to, how many receivers do you have? The back has to be to you. We're going to heel line chase. The quarterback must pull the football when we do this, all right? So here it is. We talk about down blocks. Here's a down block. The joker's off his butt. He's heel line chasing, making the quarterback pull the football, all right? If I get a zone block with this technique or a hinge block, which we got a lot, don't panic. I become a C-gap defender on the run plays, right? And if we get a pass set, we just rush and become a pass rusher, right? So again, all this is hyperlinked in the playbook that the guys get. All right, so here we are working it, all right? So we read block drill here. We got Carlos Hatcher, right? Crawl, walk, run. All right, so right now he starts off. Boom, he gets a down block. We want to roll off that front foot. We want to heel line chase as flat as we can. You'll see here in a second to make the quarterback have to pull the football, right? If we get friction on the tackle, we want to get friction on the tackle. We really only do this to a 2-man surface, not to a 3-man surface, unless it's a game plan deal. But good job by Carlos, reading his key, rolling off his front foot, coming flat down line of scrimmage. This is a verbal cadence drill. We want to be perfect on our footwork when we get this. Here it is again. Carlos just crawl, walk, running, right? Again, verbal cadence, set, hit. Wilkes blocks down. Carlos is flat down line of scrimmage. You got to be able to make the play hash to hash if the quarterback hands the football off. All right, so now taking it to the next step, walking it. Here's our tackle. Here's our dive player. Carlos is the quarterback. Armani Dixon from Chicago is our dive player, right? The running back. So here, boom, he gets the dive. Angelo should roll off that front foot, which you can see him doing, flat heel line chasing right here. When we do this, we always have a linebacker or a safety out here who becomes the quarterback player. So to the quarterback, as you can see, this should be a pull read, right? If the quarterback pulls this ball, we have an outside defender here to make the play. If he hands it, you'll see here in a second, we got to be able to track this thing flat down line of scrimmage and make the play. So again, crawl, walk, run. Here's just an angle of it. So now this is our joker. Here's our field end working this technique here. But you can see this is him getting friction. Boom. He's working flat down the line of scrimmage as tight as we can to make the quarterback hand the football off. All right, so here it is live. Again, if you drill something, you better be able to see it on film. If you don't see it on film, it ain't worth the freak, and you got to throw the shiggity out right here, right? But again, we've got a dive call here. All right, with our joker. Again, pistol with these dudes was heavy stretch. So even though it's a down block and we have a dive call, we ought to be able to make the play from hash to hash here because you're an unblocked defender. So you can see here, Angelo, boom, goes flat down the line of scrimmage. He's unblocked. We end up cutting this play off with the front side end. The running back stops his feet. Angelo gets himself a TFL. See it from the end zone shot here. Stretch, boom. He's flat, 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 flat. It gets cut off. He stops his feet. Bang, we're in good shape. All right, here we are against Central Florida. All right, so now, they come out in a stack formation. You can see it's a better look at it. Here's the quarterback. Here's the running back, obviously. dive call. So now, as we come flat down the line of scrimmage here, if the quarterback pulls this football, our Willie linebacker, he's the quarterback player. Now, it's amazing how much we ran this technique. Again, we mostly do this, we'll do it out of a 3-down front. We'll do it out of a 4-down front. I know I'm not talking a lot of fronts right now, but we do it out of a lot of stuff. But how much, pullers we got, here they double pull. This should be a pull read by the quarterback if he's really reading it. But if he did pull it right now, our Will linebacker ought to be able to win that matchup. But Darius does a good job here of coming flat, getting a TFL unblocked. The amount of plays that we made unblocked, especially with this kid, is absolutely ridiculous. But here he goes. He gets a puller. He's flat down line of scrimmage. You can see, I would think Gus Malzahn's pissed off at this kid because he ain't pulling the football. I know those dudes at Army, they would be upset because that's your dive key, right? Boom, pull it. It's a good job of getting the play. We got it out leveraged to the field anyways with the front we're in. But we're in great shape on this play. One more look at it. Here we are against Oklahoma. All right, so now we're doing this and we're bringing a corner fire with it. All right, so still the same thing. Quarterback, running back. You can see Spencer Rattler's checking the play. We're going to get double pullers. I don't like this, though. I think he's too far up the field. I know it's double pullers. You're getting the double pull scheme here, but if this thing did hit and it creased, we would be in trouble here if he's too far up the field. Now, again, I would think the quarterback, would be told to pull this football, probably why he got benched later on, right? But dive key, boom, they hand it off. If the quarterback, again, all we've done is with the blitz, we replaced our corner with our Will in the last pitch you saw. If he pulled it, the corner should make this play. I guess he's pissed off. You can see him right here. Pull it. Well, he would have pulled it, he got smoked. All right, so that's our dive technique. Kind of how we teach that and we talk about it. Again, we do it on different fronts. All right, I'm calling this beta. We don't really call this beta, but it is what it is. All right, so now what we're doing with this technique, guys, is we're saying we're a B-gap defender from a 5 technique, all right? We're still reading the tackle's shoulder on a run or a pass play. We are B-gap responsible. For the most part, when we run this, somebody is always blitzing outside of us. So again, this is the playbook that the kids get on top of the playbook that we give them as a defense. So now, again, zone block, right? I get a zone block at me. My butt's got a cross face. I got to get in the B gap. Here I've drawn it with the safety blitzing off the edge. Could be anybody though. All right, if I get a pass set, I got to get my butt in that B gap. Somebody's blitzing outside of me, right? The only time it's different now, if I get a down block, instead of I cannot get in the B gap, I'm B gap responsible, but I'm just taking it from the backside here, right? So I'm a dive player now. Somebody's blitzing outside of me, just like you saw really with the clip. I should have put that on there with Oklahoma, right? Dive. If he pulls it, the blitz is responsible for the quarterback now. Here we are, crawl, rock, running it. Again, just working our read block steps here. So this would be our stand-up end, working it, or stand-up joker. This would be our field end, working it from a three-point stance here. All right, so, right, zone block, boom, he crosses face. I'm going to get my butt in that B gap. Verbal cadence, this is why I like going to reaction drills too. Verbal cadence should be perfect, but look, Armani's cheating it, right? Why you got to be able to do it both. Good by Keith, not cheating it, but Armani's bouncing, trying to work the drill. Boom, we cross face. We're in the B gap right there. Here we are working at the other side. Getting that zone block. Boom, crossing face, getting in the B gap. All right, here we are working. I like this angle just to show you. Again, lazy rep by Keith. Step in zone at him. You got to be able to teach these guys how to block so our kids understand it. We can see JoJo working a 5 technique, crossing face, getting in that B gap. So now we'll work it, crawl, walk, run. Now this is the tackle, all right? This is the guard. So obviously, right, C gap, B gap, A gap is what I'm saying in this drill, all right? Most of the time, if zone comes at you, this guy's working with it, right? So we just do this. This is a reaction drill, boom, right? Angelo crosses face into the B gap, just getting those guys used to, hey, you're not going to always come free on this. That guard's probably going to work to block you there. So that's all we're working to simulate with a 2-minute surface drill like this. So here we are playing the game at Legion Field because, again, global warming, hurricanes happen, evacuations happen. 28 days in a hotel, fun times. All right, so now they F this blocking scheme up, but we're looking at 41 here, right? So he's keeling the tip of the shoulder pad. He gets the zone block at him, boom, right? He reads it a zone block, he works into the B gap, crosses face, is untouched, and gets a TFL, right? Again, they throw no hitters. You play, we play a 5 technique a bunch, we're working primary gap. Now we're crossing face. It dicks them tackles up. Good for us. All right, here we are against Ole Miss. Morgan State's one thing, no offense, but here we are against Ole Miss. Now again, here we are blitzing our safety. All right. So again, somebody's always blitzing outside of you. All right, they ID the blitz. They kind of got us, but we kind of stemmed to it a little late here. Another story, another debate, right? Their tackle does a good job of working to pick up our blitzer, right? We do a good job here with our tackle. All right, they're screwed. Again, Darius comes scot-free, on block, bang, right? They do a good job IDing it, but all we're doing with this is we're trying to put a lot of pressure on these guys and make these guys communicate and think, boom, they F it up, we come free, TFL. Here we are against Morgan State again. Now, I believe this is a pass set here. So here we are, right? So again, we talk about zone block, down block, pass set. Here's somebody's always blitzing outside of you. I have to get my butt in the B gap. I cannot counter. Odd front. So what we're doing, guys, is we're slanting this way. All right. Again, we're just talking about outside linebacker play. You can see he gets the pass set. Boom, rips into the B gap. Now, the big coaching point on pass plays, man, rip and get vertical, all right? Don't just get pinned and get my butt washed right here. I want to rip, get vertical, and I'm going to run right down the quarterback's face. Good job by 41, stepping, ripping vertical, boom, getting a sack. All right, so now we've been talking a lot about the boundary end, all right? This is really our Sam linebacker. We're in base, but this is our field end most of the time. So we dual teach this. So now we're blitzing here, all right? He becomes the beta player, right? He's reading the tackle still. So now he works, he gets a pass set, he rips into the gap. We do a good job of capturing here. Again, blitzes it's a whole nother deal, right? We'll talk about that later, right? We do a great job of capturing with our end. Here comes our Sam linebacker. Boom, he comes free, rip vertical. Right? Don't just get washed, right? Rip vertical. The tackle doesn't know what to do. We've got really a 3-on-1 right now. We should have the numbers. He steps 69, steps out. He says, oh crap, tries to okey doke back. Too late, RPO game, bang. JoJo gets a sack. Tries to get a strip, which he would have ripped the ball out, but a great play by that guy. All right, so now we're working this. What we're saying, again, global warming, we're practicing at Alabama. Thanks for those guys letting us do this, right? But we're saying right now he's a 6 technique. Now, we play some 6 technique. That's a whole clinic on 6 technique stuff. Right now, we're moving with it in this picture. So what we're saying, right, is this is a Y off or a donkey, right? So this is the tackle. This is the Y, all right? This is the tight end right here. So we're working right now a zone block, right? Which with this technique we talked about, right? If I get a down block with this, it just becomes the dive technique we talked about, right? So he gets a dive tech, he gets a down block. He's going to work flat down line of scrimmage as a flat down line of scrimmage and try to whoop this H or other Y, right? Whoop his butt and come flat down the line right here. All right. So here we're working it. All right. Y again. All right. I'm in the B gap, right? I get the zone block at me. I'm just getting my butt working into that B gap now. So we will treat game plan wise the off Y as we would if he was on the ball. So here he's off the ball. That's all we're working. Step into it. All right. So coach, there you practice it. How's it work in a game? So here we are against Houston. We're looking up top here at this guy. I'll go to the end zone shot here in a second. Again, we're blitzing. He gets a down block. He should be the veer player. He should be the dive player. He should be flat down the line of scrimmage, right? He gets a little cut off, but keep pushing. You cannot counter when we're working this technique because somebody is blitzing outside of you here. So you can see he comes down, gets the down block by the tight end, by tackle, Boom. Keep pressing, keep pressing, keep pressing. He keeps pressing and fighting through and ends up, slow it down, ends up getting a TFL because he's crossing face on that guy, right? You've got to be able to whip his butt right there. Here it is against East Carolina now. So same type of deal here. All right. We've got an edge blitzer on him. Here's the tackle. Here's the tight end, right? Boom. I get a down block. Stay in your gap, right? You're a B gap responsible player, and all you're doing is taking that from the backside of the tackle, right? So he comes free, flat down line of scrimmage, bang, right? Gets involved in the play. If he tried to, cross face on this, he would never get there. So if you're a B gap defender, take that B gap from behind. Here he is from the end zone shot, working flat down the line. Great job rolling off his foot. Boom. Better job than what he did before against Houston, whipping this guy's butt, coming, getting involved right there. All right, so we'll talk about our alpha technique, right? So if we're beta, we're in the B gap. If we're alpha, we're in the A gap. If any of my Army guys are on here, they're probably getting a little hula right now. So playbook, we only run this technique to a two-man surface, but we're really A-gap responsible, right? So it's a read. We'll talk about the read here in a second, all right? We'll key the tackle's shoulder. If we get a zone block or a pass set, we're going to work to the A-gap. This is really good on run. It can free on pass a few times, depending on where the protection is. Again, I don't have all the fronts drawn up on this because sometimes it doesn't matter for these guys. All right, if we get a down block, we'll talk about our surf technique here in a second, okay? But here it is just versus a zone block, and we got to work similar to our beta technique. We're going to work to that A gap. Here we are versus a pass set, same type of deal, right? Now, one thing we didn't do, and I wish we would have versus a pass set, is we went right now on this. And when you do that, usually we have a 3 technique here, right? When we would do that and the slide came to us, they just picked it up easy. So what we're going to go to now, instead of going right now, if I get a pass set, we're going to kind of sell like we're rushing and then come underneath. It's just an extra step in the read. I wish we would have done it. We studied it this offseason. Bad job of coaching by Josh. All right. If we get a down block, it's going to turn to surf. I'm going to talk about, our surf technique here in a second next. All right, so set. Obviously, there's a little bit of a verbal cadence. All right, so we're saying this is the center, this is the guard, this is the tackle. We never really ran this technique when we do this to out of a 6. I thought it was hard to do it out of a 6. You can. I just think it's a long way for that guy to go, right? And Carlos is probably too wide. He's lined up in a 6 anyways. So, he should be closer into a 5. But you can hear the verbal cadence. Perfect reps. He gets the zone block. He should be working. And, we would start off drilling this like you saw the other drills guys, with one guy. But I like doing any type of movements you do, blitzes you do. I like using bodies and having these guys like here, like, hey, we're working zone. All right, because somebody's going to block you. You're not going to come free, right? Now, crawl, walk, running it, we probably would start off doing it that way. But I like doing this better versus this. So now I've got bodies moving. These guys set. Work to that A gap. Somebody's going to block you.
Good, right there. Beautiful.
Here we are again. Here's the same drill. Zone block. A gap. Probably going to block you, right? We don't have pads on. So I'd have those guys block each other as they probably could. All right, so here we are working against Cincinnati. We're looking at 41 here. We did this mostly with our boundary cat. You can do it with the field end. We have done it with the field end. And obviously that's just a little bit of game plan stuff of how you want to play and kind of how it fits into your scheme. A lot of times we did this out of a bench front with a 3 technique set to the boundary. We've done this out of even. It kind of depends on, game plan stuff, what you're doing. a big key to this, you'll see here in a second when I go to the end zone shot, is that tackle 3 technique or however you're playing that guy, right? So you can see here 41 gets the zone block at him. You can see him work. He's going to start to work to that gap. We'll talk about blocking schemes, I guess, here more in a second. Good job by the 3 of really taking that guard. They work back to the will. Darius comes free. Wasn't a TFL, it was a 0, but it's a big time play, right? So, I think the first couple of things, you guys, a lot of this stuff is really good. I haven't talked a lot of gap scheme, right? Most of this stuff is really good versus stretch, zone, killers like that. This technique is not as good, if a team is running wide stretch. We ran into that issue a little bit this year because, he's got to really work to cut this guy off. If he gets reached, whoever your C gap defender is, has to show up pretty quick or that thing's going to roll, right? Because, yeah, this guy's going to come free on stretch, but if these dudes are elephants on a parade or they don't give a rip, they're just going to let him go by, and you really get nothing out of it, right? So this is good against zone teams, against man blocking teams. If they're going to man block a zone, which these guys kind of were a little bit, right? So you can see, Darius does a good job. He gets the zone block at him. We're talking 41 here again, right? Great job by Noah's side. He rips, boom, cuts that thing off. They work back to the will linebacker. Well, we should have all the gaps accounted for now, right? You can see we got our C gap defender, B gap. Here's our A gap. Boom, working to this B, C gap. We're in great shape. Darius does a good job. And again, this is another situation where I would tell him, hey, man, think rip vertical, right? Yeah, this guy bends this thing back, but, if it's a good tackle and he winds back and I'm going this way, he just washes me back behind, I've done nothing, right? So pop, boom, rip vertical, great job. We've got 2 unblocked defenders on this play, really 3 with number 1 coming in right there. Really good play. All right, here we are against Memphis. This is our last game of the year. All right, so they're going to motion, but we're doing the same thing here. Looking at number 41 down here at the bottom. All right, again, good versus inside zone, not as great versus outside zone. Right? I guess they're kind of man blocking it this year. You can see he comes free. We'll watch it from the end zone. Again, we will do this out of some even front. Here, obviously, we're doing it out of, whatever you want to call it, field or bench front. Right? Now, this is something you got to think about too. I told you we usually don't do it to 3-man surfaces. We really don't. It kind of depends on how you want to count this cat, right? Like, a lot of times, and I didn't put a lot of the stuff in here. Now, I guess I can go to it if we have some bonus time, right? But we'll do a lot of game plan stuff, and pairings will tell you, like, hey, what is this guy in, right? And what is he in? So I know a lot of people, I'm kind of rambling, but this is probably pretty decent, right? All right, so a lot of people will talk about depths of the running back, right? Like we would say, all right, if he's here, he's in a 1. If he's even, he's in a 0. If he's behind, he's in a 2, right? Well, with a tight end, we started doing it this year. It was really good. We would do the same thing for a tight end, right? So if he's lined up on the ball, he's in a 0, obviously, right? If he's, sometimes they put these guys like real tight in here, almost foot to foot. All right, well, hey, he's in a 1 then, all right? If he's in a 0 or a 1, most of the time he's not crossfiring, right? He ain't going to go back across. He's going to stay front side on something. Makes sense. If he's in a 2, all right, a lot of times teams will keep him in a 2 and still run him front side. But if he's in a 2, he's off the ball, he's got a great chance of coming back across. And what you see a lot of with people, right, is they'll put this guy, a tight end, line up as a fullback. Well, we would count that as a 3, right? So off your game plan study, you can tell your kids, and I would tell these guys, and they would communicate this to each other. Hey, he's in a 2-2-2. So Darius is telling JoJo 2-2-2. So now JoJo knows if I'm a C-gap defender, I got a high percentage chance of this guy coming back and trying to kick me out, right? Or he would say, hey, he's in a 1-1-1. So now JoJo would know, hey, man, this guy probably ain't coming back across, right? Teams have a lot of tendencies with back depth. They have a lot of tendencies with where this guy lines up, right? So again, we say 0 on the ball. 1, he's basically foot to foot, but off the ball. 2, he can go back across. In 3, he's lined up as a fullback. So it's just something you can study. So now you know, you can't tell the kids like, hey, if he's in a 1 and he's in a 2, right, it's 90% split zone. Well, the kids ain't going to remember that shiggity, right? You can tell them all the stuff they want. They can study it. But they know, hey, if this guy's in a 2, he's going to come back across, right? And linebackers know based off of his depth what plays they're getting. I know I'm rambling, but all right. So this guy's in a 2-2-2, all right? So boom, we pop back across. You can see we're coming underneath because we know he's in a 2, right? Well, what we're doing here, guys, we're running our alpha technique here, and we're running dive here, right? So everything's mirror taught. So now when I get dive versus a kick out block, I got to spill it, right? So you can see JoJo's trying to come underneath it. And now if the quarterback did pull it, our Mike's free, right? But from the end zone shot, so again, he's telling him dive, dive, dive. He's making an alpha call. Boom, you can see our dive player coming underneath to spill it. Quarterback pulls it. One's got to make the play. You can see, right, they're kind of manning it really on the zone scheme, right? 41 comes underneath, pushes vertical, gets himself another TFL. All right, last technique I'm going to talk about. What we do call surf. We call it surf. We stole this from Kirby Smart's presentation. Georgia calls it surf. They're pretty good, obviously, so it's out there. We call this surf technique. All right, so with the playbook, right, when we get a down block, right, we end up surfing. I just took this from the alpha slide, but really we teach this when we're playing a 5 technique with the back to us, right? Because if the back's away or back's to you, right, you're probably, right, we can either make you dive and pull it, right, or we can surf and make you hand the ball off, right? If we want, depending on who we want to have the ball, the quarterback or the running back. You got to decide that in your game plan. Who's the important player? Who's the stud? Is it the quarterback or is it the running back? If it's a donkey quarterback and you want to pull the ball, you want to hit his ass, right? Dive it. If you're scared of the quarterback, make him hand that shiggity off into your players, right? So here we are working it. Crawl, walk, run. Now, it's a little bit of a hard technique, so this is our field end working it, right? Verbal cadence drill, because we want this to be perfect, right? You can see JoJo goes down, right? Cooper from Dickinson, right? He's a Houston boy for us. You can see him step, put his hand on the guy, right? Now, improvement, what has to happen, though, he really needs to take his head. If his eyes look down the line for a second, his body will stay down the line. I'll show you a clip of it happening here in 1 second, right? But really, you want to step, stop, squat, right? Because if you keep floating and you work down here tight, and I'll show you a bad clip of it, and the quarterback pulls it, I'm going to be hurting, right? So I don't want to go too far. I got to be able to make a play on a dive or make the play if the quarterback pulls the ball, right? So here we are just drilling it with everybody working it, right? And you can see, good job by 41, right? Step, stop, squat, right? Just stay right there. Good job here by 3. Watch 3's eyes, right? You see how, right, his eyes peek down the line of scrimmage for a second. 1, if I get any type of puller, if it's divide zone, I can get underneath that shiggity, right? But now that's going to naturally keep my body flat down the line right here. So here we are, right? Working it, just kind of crawl, walk, running, right? You can see, boom, step, stop, squat, right? Don't go too far. If he hands the ball off, he should be able to make the play. If this stud quarterback pulls his football, and you ought to be able to make that play right here. Me, all day, I'm pulling this because I'm just a much better athlete than these dudes, right? I'm going to pull it. I'm going to get on the edge, and I'm going to hit my head on the freaking goalpost. All right, so here we are. Cincinnati was a good zone read team. So right now, you guys can't see, this is the 5th play of the game, right? You can see the time on the clock, 0-0, first or second drive for these guys. So we're looking at number 46 right here, JoJo, right? This is a bad example. I'll show you good, I'll show you bad, right? This is what happens if you're a surf player, right? And you F this up, you get in trouble right here. Obviously, it's a pretty good quarterback. This is a really good football team we're playing against, right? But you can see JoJo jumps up the field. No, wrong, right? This is an easy read for the quarterback. You'll see it here in a second. He looks like he's taking the freaking dive. We did not want to do that. Both these guys were good football players, but we wanted him to hand this ball off. He runs up the field, right? You want to have square shoulders, right? Now it becomes a flat foot race. We're a little hosed right here, right? We read it wrong here, all right? But he's banking on him being a C-gap defender, making him hand that football off. Rattler pulls it, bad clip. We've got to turn and run flat down line of scrimmage. Good hustle, but we're in trouble. That's a bad play for the Wave right there. That's not what we're looking for in our surf technique. All right, so here's a good clip of it. There, this is the end zone shot of this here still. Back to him. JoJo's the surf player. Go up the field. No, wrong. Easy read for the quarterback. Pulls it. We're in trouble. We're out leveraged. Not good. I'm not a happy camper on the sideline. I am yelling positive words of encouragement to him, though. Nothing negative at all. All right, so now you can see the clock. All right, third quarter. This is the 33rd play for them. All right, they come back to it. They do have a different deal, but they say, hey, we got 46's butt earlier. Let's try to get his butt again. All right, better job here. Step, stop, squat. Boom. Quarterback doesn't know what to do. He hands it off. JoJo folds right back in, and he's in good shape right here. So let's check it from the end zone shot, right? 5 technique, down block, step, stop, squat. Boom. He's in a good position. He's not too far up the field. His shoulder pads are squared, right? When I was at Army, a lot of times if the quarterback felt like he could outrun this dude, he was going to do it, right? If he turns his shoulders, it's easy read for the quarterback here, right? He stops. The quarterback hands the ball off. Bang. Right, he folds back in. He can play both now. He can play both. Good play by him. My positive words of encouragement on the play before got him to do that. All right, so last play. Oh, I got 2 more plays I'll show you. All right, so here we are working it. This is JoJo again. All right, so a little bit of a different scheme here. I know I've mostly been talking zone read, stretch, right? But we're going to get the G scheme, which really much plays out the same way. Remember, right? We're still a C-gap responsible player for us, right? So we get the down block, right? He feels the G scheme. He just ricochets off of this, right? Again, his shoulders are square though, so he can do this. I know this is a little bit of a pitch read deal. He kicks it. JoJo can run and get himself a TFL. All right, last 2 clips. So again, we haven't talked a ton of 6 technique work, but right now it's what we're simulating. All right, so this is the tight end. All right, this is the tackle. So if we were playing a 6, right, and we get this down arc scheme, we're going to work to surf it. All right, so quarterback, I didn't have enough people here this day, so the running back would be here. So you can see he gets the down arc scheme, boom. Right? Step, stop, squat. Good job, right? You can see his eyes are down line of scrimmage, right? He can play both. If I hand this ball off, which me at quarterback, I never would. I'm pulling it and trying to outrun his butt, right? We'll be in good shape right there. So here we are. Again, how do you want to count this guy, right? Is he in a 1, he's in a 2, or a 3? It changes per week, right? We counted this cat right here this week when he was in a 1, right? It doesn't look like he can go back across, all right? He's going to stay front side. So we knew, right? Tight end, back. We're playing a 6. My spidey senses are tingling right now. If I'm Keith Cooper, right, that I'm going to get the zone read concept. So you can see it from the wide. Boom. Keys, step, stop, squats, right? I know this play gets kicked out quick, but boom, he's got square shoulders. The ball gets tossed. He's unblocked, right? We leverage it. Great job by the freshman running, tracking this thing down, getting involved in the play, right? So again, step, stop, squat, boom, right? Square shoulders. Yeah, his base is too wide. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. But like, I mean, this is a freshman playing against a college football playoff team, right? Does a great job. Square shoulders. They kick it. He turns and runs flat down line of scrimmage, and he makes a good play right there. Look, fellas, I know I went really fast there. All right. I'm available for you. Obviously, if you paid for this, you're helping a really good cause, right? So my Twitter handle is @CoachJCY, right? Josh Christian Young. So Coach JCY on Twitter. Follow me. If you guys got questions on anything, I'll help you out as much as I can. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you giving to Lawrence first and goal. So that's all I got, fellas. I think they got some closing stuff for you, but thank you guys and roll wave.
Thanks, Coach.